Good morning, buenos dias, welcome. My name is Patricia Mota. I hope you are well. Focus on what you can control. Happy Pride Month. Thank you all for those of you tuning in on our LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube channels. Please be sure to engage throughout today's conversation. And happy Pride Month. We stand in solidarity with all of our LGBTQ plus community. And welcome. My name is Patricia Mota. I'm President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. We are a national nonprofit whose mission is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent and providing them the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. Thank you for joining us. And we have a special guest who is currently participating, a current participant of our Women's Leadership Program, Mujeres de HACE. And her name is Andrea Simoes, Divisional Manager for Windsor Communities in Georgia. Good morning, Andy. How are you today?
Good morning, Patricia. I am wonderful. It's a hashtag Wonderful Wednesday, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Hashtag Wonderful Wednesday. There's one to use today and on our Wednesdays. Thank you for sharing that. Andy, we're looking forward to get to know who you are, learn more about your experience, why you're doing Mujeres de HACE. But first off, since you are at Cafecito, what's your morning beverage of choice, or how do you like your coffee prepared?
So I'm actually more of a tea drinker myself. The Tazo Passion Tea is my go-to in the morning, but I will never say no to a white chocolate mocha in winter.
In the winter time, right? Right now, but things are warming up. And so I think tea is a good choice. And, you know, one thing too, that it's always good to hear about the diverse preferences in terms of beverages. And we've had some interesting stories being shared about that as well. But also one of the things is we have folks that are tuning in from all walks of life, from different, whether they're getting started in their careers, whether they've been well established and further along in experience. And it's also, you know, part of understanding the HACE journey is being able to shine light on individuals such as yourself. So can you tell us a bit more about who you are, your cultural, your professional background, and how you got to your role that you're in today?
Love to. So I'm Mexican American and I identify as Latina. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and have made my way now to Atlanta, Georgia. I work in the commercial real estate industry with a focus on multifamily housing, and I've been with my company for almost 20 years at this point. I joined in 2004 in a marketing representative role in Austin, Texas. That's more of a leasing and sales role. And I was really fortunate that at that time, the company was growing in Texas. So for several years, I was able to transition to a marketing manager capacity, assisting with new acquisitions, new developments in Texas, and then in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area. Eventually, I transitioned back to Texas, became an assistant manager, and then a property manager in Dallas, Texas. And I just raised my hand for every opportunity that came around. I said, put me in, coach, and took advantage of every challenge that came my way. Eventually, I became a property manager, then senior property manager, and in 2018, I relocated here to Atlanta, Georgia in an area manager role. And as you said, now I'm the divisional manager for our Georgia market.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I think I hear a lot in terms of being open to opportunities and being open to move around, right? So you're talking about, you know, spending some time in Texas and then now in Georgia, where we have a lot of great alumni and great HACE friends. And I think that's critical, right? As you continue to advance in your career, is how are we being open to opportunities? So thank you for sharing that. And one thing we've been shining a light throughout the conversations is about our theme for the year, being that we lead at the intersection of identity, equity, and unity. Identity being is embracing the intersectional identities that we each represent. And this month being Pride Month, right, especially shining light on those that identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community. And then the equity piece is ensuring that we're meeting individuals where they are, not just in terms of opportunities, resources, and programming, but also empowering our participants, our members to advocate for themselves and to speak up. And then the unity piece is supporting across all communities, right? And so When you first heard of this theme, Andy, being a participant in our program, what comes to mind, and what would you like to share in terms of your perspective on that?
So, Patricia, I absolutely love this theme. I firmly believe that creating a culture that celebrates diversity ultimately leads to greater unity. When your associates feel safe, when they feel seen, when they feel heard, incredible things can happen. And as leaders, it's important to recognize the unique perspectives that our team members bring to the table. The diversity of backgrounds, experiences, that provides a depth and a richness that is really immensely valuable to organizations. You know, acknowledging that we've all been on different paths, seeking to create opportunities for underrepresented groups, these are key responsibilities of leaders. And this means recognizing that identity doesn't fit into a single box, understanding the complexity and the intersectionality of all of our experiences, and consciously acting to create more equity in the workplace. And that includes actively recruiting underrepresented groups. It means training leaders on things like unconscious bias. It means creating mentoring programs to mentor associates and creating opportunities for associates to develop skills that allows them to participate in their careers. And of course, supporting participation in programs like Mujeres de HACE.
Thank you for sharing those examples. Those of you tuning in, I don't think we've had anybody in commercial real estate in a while. So if you have any specific questions for that, or just to Andy in general, or any comments, please get them ready. Share. If you think this could benefit to anyone else in your network, make sure to share on your social media platforms as well. Let's talk about Mujeres de HACE, right? We mentioned it a couple of times. It's the HACE's Women's Leadership Program. As a current participant, I think you're about 3 sessions in, so a little bit towards the halfway mark of the program. Why did you decide that it was the time to take a step, and what recommendations do you have for those that are looking for, whether they're interested in Mujeres de HACE or any type of leadership training programs that could support them to advance in their career?
So my sister-in-law, Melissa Reyes, had participated in the Mujeres program, and after learning about her experience, I knew I had to join. So fun fact about me, I attended an all-girls Catholic high school in San Antonio. Shout out to the Incarnate Word Shamrocks out there. And I am in my element when I'm surrounded by strong, passionate, intelligent women. So this was a perfect fit. I personally decided to take this step in an effort to reconnect a little bit more with my culture and become more involved in promoting positive representation of Latinas in business. So the best advice that I can give to interested applicants is just do it. You are already bringing so much to the table with your background and your experiences, and your perspective is going to bring so much value to your fellow mujeres. I firmly believe that nothing is more valuable than the investment that you make in yourself, and being part of Mujeres is going to pay tremendous dividends. It already has for me in terms of the connections that I've made and just the insight into myself through things like the assessments that we've taken, the opportunities to do leadership presentations.
And so you've taken the assessment. Have you had your coaching yet? If not, I'm sure that's coming up.
I think June 10th is my coaching date. I'm so looking forward to that. I'm red, by the way.
Oh, okay. So the assessment that we utilize in the program is Insights Global Discovery. So it helps you understand your strengths, capabilities, and possible blind spots, which I think are just as critical, right? That we all have. You mentioned, the importance of training such as unconscious bias. And I think the leadership assessment tool that we've utilized is one way to help us reflect in terms of our strengths, capabilities, and those blind spots that may be holding us back. I mean, at this point in your career, you've accomplished so much, Andy. So those that are listening in, they're like, wow, I've already kept getting promoted and advancing in my career. What makes it critical for me to even participate in a leadership training at this point?
You never stop learning as a leader. You should never want to stop learning as a leader. And you were talking about self-assessments. Introspection is such a critical component of leadership. If we stop learning, if we stop looking into ourselves, we stop growing and we stop being effective. So I think it's so important to invest, whether it's professional development, books and seminars that you're taking on your own, or doing programs like Mujeres, that's going to make you stronger. And ultimately, your goal as a leader should be to develop future leaders. And you have to be on the cutting edge of what's going on in learning and development and leadership training in order to be your most effective self.
Yeah, I'm a true believer of ongoing learning and development. And I think it's critical that no matter how much you've achieved in your career, that there's always more to learn, right? And given especially this past year and how quickly things are evolving, we have to make sure that we're maintaining our networks, we're creating new networks and creating relationships, that we're um, taking in new tools, new development trainings, new opportunities, and making sure that we're an avid learner, right? So all great points. Those of you tuning in, have your questions ready. We'll be ready to take a couple of questions. And the other key thing right now, too, not just for those that are in their careers, but being that you're a leader in your specific field, what tips or advice do you have for those that are looking to get back into the workforce? I mean, the thing that's trending in the news right now is you're seeing that there's a lack of talent, or folks are not getting back into jobs, and there's a bunch of reasons why that are out there, right? And one of them being, the pay gap and things like that. What advice do you have for those that perhaps are struggling to find that next opportunity in terms of applying or connecting to their next potential role?
So that's a great question. Number one, know your value. Know what you're worth and know what you bring to the table. I think especially as women and as Latinas, we tend to undervalue ourselves, and there is a whole world out there that is applying for jobs that they are not qualified for. Guess what? You have the skills and the talent to be successful. So believe in yourself, know what you're worth, and go for it. The second thing is you have to leverage your network. Making connections is the best way to find your way into that next opportunity. That's one of the things I love about the Mujeres program. I've been able to connect and network with other powerful Latina women. And I think that whether you're creating a platform for somebody else or you're the one asking for that connection, that is going to be the best way to get you to where you're really meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Know your value and leverage connections. I think one thing that you just said, it's critical. If there are groups or organizations that you identify as part of, right? And that could be various groups and various organizations, especially if you don't see them represented at across your organization or in the leadership roles. It's critical to take advantage of these types of programs, because we're able to bring those folks together and to be able to you see yourself in them. Our question is here is, what feedback do you have for women that perhaps are on the fence for applying, let's say, for Mujeres de HACE, the program?
So I would answer that question with a question. Why are you on the fence? What is your hesitation? And if it's because you don't think that you lack the skills or the qualifications, one, if you think you lack the skills, go out and get them. There are so many free resources out there to help you continue to develop yourself. But if it's just your own lack of confidence that's holding you back, do a power pose and just do it. Those of you that haven't seen any of Amy Cuddy's talks or read her book Presence, it's amazing. And it talks about the mind-body connection. But one of the biggest things that we can do is trick ourselves into being more confident. So do that power pose, strike that power pose, and go out there and do it. The worst thing that can happen is that you get a no. And if that's the worst thing that happens to you today, you're on the right track. You just move forward. You move on. A no is an opportunity.
Get that power pose ready and going. So, and another question regarding that, what has been the most rewarding thing about the program for you so far?
Definitely the connections that I've made, and I've been surprised to meet people that were already in my orbit that I wasn't aware of. So connections are huge, but being able to really focus on things like the global insights and learn a little bit about myself, recognizing my blind spots has been critical. It can be difficult for us to do that, and so having an opportunity to sit down one-on-one with a coach is something I'm very much looking forward to, because I think that will just further strengthen my leadership skills.
Absolutely. And then, and this is something, Andy, you'll learn after you graduate from the program, is the strong alumni network that continues to engage with one another, support one another, because it ends up being your support network, your sisterhood, hermandad, your sisterhood that continues to celebrate your continued progress and your wins throughout your career, not only your career journey, but also your personal journey as well. And so as we're getting ready to wrap up here in our conversation, Andy, what are you most hopeful for, or that you're most excited about for this year?
Seeing so many families come together as more and more people are getting vaccinated, that gives me hope. I was recently able to spend time with my family in San Antonio after more than a year of being apart, and just sharing hugs and sharing meals, it reminded me of how important life's simple pleasures are. And 2020, it forced a lot of us to reflect on what's most important to us, what matters the most. And I think 2021 is going to bring a lot more connection and more compassion and more community.
I agree. I think we're all pretty excited about that and seeing folks that we haven't seen in a long time, but most importantly, in person, and giving those much needed hugs and connections in front of one another. Andy, thank you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. We appreciate your time and your insights. Those of you tuning in, thank you for joining us today. And until next time, hasta la próxima. Take care.